Hey guys, if you could leave a positive review on iTunes, go subscribe to the podcast, that really helps tremendously. A lot. So if you could go and hit subscribe, you've got the podcast app on your phone, so you can actually go and hit subscribe. If you have an iPhone, hit subscribe to that bad boy. It helps out a lot. Positive reviews, and especially if it's an episode you like, if it's like, I don't know, Mark O'Connell from Take About Sunday, leave a good review like, hey, loved hearing Mark on the podcast, love to hear him again, things like that. Really helps out. You can also go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Also, you can go support us on the Patreon page, and also you can use PayPal as well, whatever way you like. All of it comes back to help the podcast, and I would greatly, tremendously love you forever. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads Podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 94 with River Guerguerian, Part 2. Sounds good. This time last year, I had interviewed River for the first time on the podcast, and we talked about the actual Percussion Festival, and I just came back and said, hey, let's have you back on, and it was great to catch up with him and talk about the festival, how much it was such a fun experience last year. I learned so much more percussion stuff when it came to different instruments, different styles of music and things like that. So it was great to, sit down and kind of just tell him what I thought about the festival. And then he busted out some instruments and, kind of broke them down, talked about them. So it was great. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to the festival. So if you live here in the Asheville area or, Western North Carolina, and you want to come out to the festival, you can go to AshevillePercussionFestival.com to get your tickets. And you can also go to the, I don't know if the Saturday night concert is sold out yet, but it was getting close. I highly recommend that you go to that. Like I said, it took me out of my element. It took me out of my comfort zone and put me into looking at percussion instruments in a different way. So it was a very fun experience. I'm hoping to take my son because he's really interested in the handpan. So when I show him the videos from like Syrah's handpans, he's like, ooh, that's cool. Can we get one? I'm like, they're kind of like really expensive, but we'll see. But anyways, so here it is, episode 94 with River Guerguerian. Just like to thank him again for being on and just demonstrating some instruments and having a great conversation. So enjoy. Well, hello.
Thanks for coming here.
Yes, hello everybody, back with River.
Hello.
Guerguerian. I said that right?
Guerguerian, yes.
Yes. I always I panicked when I was uploading your podcast last time.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm going to screw this last name so bad. Then I'm like, I practice, and I think I nailed it, so.
Nice.
Good. Well, we are back here today because the Percussion Festival is up June 28th to the July 2nd.
Yeah, all the artists show up on Sunday, which is the June 25.
Okay.
And then the 26th, that week of the 26th, we have about 40, what we call intensive students who come for a week-long track. Then it's open to the public June 30, July 1st, when the concert is, and July 2nd, upstairs at the school, we'll have a sound meditation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Last year, I went to the concert, and I was just like, I was floored. I mean, I went home and like almost wanted to be in the quiet and just like really meditate on what I just heard, because I've been to rock concerts and all kinds, but I hadn't been to a concert like that.
Okay.
And just the the musicality of like all the drums.
Yeah.
You don't really think about it, because when I think drums, I think that right there, drum sets.
Exactly.
Not frame drums and doombiks and all that stuff, but also the handpans.
Yeah.
Just like mesmerizing.
Oh yeah, they're amazing, and that's actually it's nice that you say that, because you've been playing drums since you were a kid, and still there's a lot about it, that the whole percussion family that a lot of folks are unaware of, and one of it is the melodic and lyrical aspect of the frame drum, which I think is just fascinating, and as the drums in general, whether you're listening to Western classical music, rock and roll band, or whatever, country western group, the drums are in the back, and they're just kind of accompanying and holding a pulse, but there is a whole other side of it, and then you don't get to hear the subtleties of a tone if you're just holding the beat for something, which is great, and it's great to make people dance too, but there's subtleties of tone that get lost once you put other instruments on there, and of course in the mix they always put the drums a little bit behind the voice and the singer and the guitar or whatever.
Yeah, and it's it's one of those things. It's starting to break into the mainstream, especially like the hand pan.
Yeah,
it's Josh and Mark from Saraz.
Yeah,
it's in its infancy right now, but it's starting to grow into a child. Into walking and all that, and it's getting attention, which is great. And it's great what you're doing because you brought something to this city that's unique to this city almost.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it is. I know there's a few drum festivals around the country and around the world, but I think what makes this one unique is that the artists come for a whole week and we collaborate together. It's not like I choreograph something for a week and I want them to play a part, or they just come, a regular festival, even though when something's a festival, a band, will just get off the bus, do their thing, get back on the bus and go on their next gig. But here they're really forced to, I don't know, I think I might have told you last time, but it's like we have 12 chefs in a kitchen. This is the kitchen for about 4 or 5 days. Everybody brings one good recipe, but we all work on that recipe with that person. The other guy, girl, brings that in, and then we work on that, and so on. And at the end, you have 12 or 10 or 12 really good pieces, for making. It's a pretty large course meal.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But then they're forced to. We communicate with each other, and then they're forced to get involved with the community. The regional and national community, the people that come here, but specifically the people in Asheville.
Yeah. Well, and it was great because you started the concert off with the people, your students. I guess the more intensive students. Coming in from the back.
Yeah.
And it's a very hands-on, literally.
Yeah.
Thing. You're letting the students, whether they're a beginner or they're a master, I guess you could say, but they're part of the show and part of the community.
Yeah.
Where it's not everyone's put on this pedestal and here are the musicians that are and then here's the good ones. Everyone's on the same plateau, I think.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm glad you said that because it gives them a good chance to play in front of the public or for the public and to play with the artists and it brings in that community thing.
And it's and not to harp on the handpan, but every night before we go to sleep, my son loves it. Like we watch on YouTube. I'll sit there with my phone and watch handpan, and he just thinks it's the greatest thing. It's so relaxing, and he's like, "I want to. Can we get one?" I'm like. Let's see if we can work something out. But but it's great to see someone who's 7 getting in, intrigued by this stuff. I have a drum set, but he's gravitating more towards something more melodic.
Interesting.
Which is great. Kids are, they're just little, little things you can really teach. At that point. Me, it's hard to break someone. Like I'm 33, so it's hard to break me out of my, comfort zone. But my son's still in that range where you can show him everything, and he's more susceptible to it. That's great.
And kids actually have a nice soft touch, because with the handpan you have to be. Actually, I realize I have an older one in the back too. I could pull out if you want, but you have to have a soft touch. If you push too hard in it, it works against you.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to caress it. Almost like a certain finesse to playing that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So I wanted to add, I don't think I asked last time. Out of all the drums we see, how many belong to you, or do they belong
like all around here?
Yeah.
It's pretty much all the drums and stuff belong to me, and that includes probably collecting them for a few decades. There was a period in my life when I left New York City and I lived 5 years off the grid in the Himalaya mountains. That was in the early 90s. I sold pretty much or gave away a lot of stuff, but some of my classic stuff, like some of the gongs and singables, I still have back from like the 80s and things like that. But all the drums and singables, and there's tons of hand drums over there, pretty much mine. The keyboards and some of the guitars, some of them are just donated for the school and things like that. So it's hundreds.
Okay.
And there's things in closets and things I take out to only recording sessions. Like I have this suitcase of like shakers and clankers and wood block. Like it's like a little suitcase of like 70 different things that I just use on could be a pop track or a country track or meditation CDs that only come out for those.
Yeah. Well, I meant to ask because I'm like, this is an impressive collection.
Oh, thank you.
And it's, I was like, is this part of the schools or is this?
No, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. It's just me traveling around the world and just acquiring stuff. It's a fascination. It's an obsession. I try to keep it healthy. Like there was a time when I was, before I, like I was saying, in the early '90s, when during those 5 or 6 years when I just kind of left the grid, I was just myself, a backpack and a big frame drum. And you really get into the impermanence of everything, and you realize you don't need that much, and we live in such a materialistic world, so every time I get something these days, I really try to make sure, do I really need this, but because I'm so involved with the drumming community here, and I give classes every week, I've learned also not to be stingy with my instruments. So whatever I have, I share with people, whether it's a 5-year-old or a 95-year-old person. Once in a while I have a choice instrument, but I'm not one of those people that are like, oh no, do not touch that drum because it's my favorite and it's going to break. I'm like, it's a thing, just like my body's a thing and it's impermanent. I'm not going to get that stressed out about it.
So, out of the drums, would you say that the frame drum is what you gravitate mostly toward?
Well, I spent a lot of time on that, partly because I could do so much with it in terms of like tone, color. I get so many different colors in there, all with one, and I kind of use that approach when I go to a drum set where mostly. If you want a different tone, you might go to a different instrument or a different cymbal, or whatever. But so I kind of use that approach. How many colors can I get? All of that, and then I also use a drum kit. I try to make this. Okay, here's the kick. Maybe here's the snare. Here's the hi-hat. Use some of those grooves that way. And also it's because it uses the fingers, and like I was doing all these snaps, and so it just works for me really well in that way. And from there I could move on to other instruments.
Well, and I've noticed when you're holding a drum, it's not about moving your hands so much. It's just moving the fingers, really.
Yeah, it's moving the fingers, but one of the ways that I really try to get through, because one of the things that's interesting about this, and maybe as you were saying, the popularity of the hand pans has gone up, and also of like finger-style drums like this. I think it's partly because we've gotten so technologically advanced, and there's so much computer-based music. Like when I was a kid, it was people would say, "Oh, does electronic belong in music?" It was still a question, or electronic. Now it's not even a question. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
And there's people who are musicians who never touch an instrument. They do 12 hours a day on a computer and write music for movies or gaming or whatever. And you can't say those people are musicians anymore because that's now the instrument. But I think because there is so much of that, people really like the tactile. They want to move their digits, their fingers.
Yeah, they want to touch it.
They want to touch it.
Yeah.
And if you're a drumming or you're into drumming, it's not necessarily a solo instrument. I mean, I practice by myself a lot, and lots of people just love to do that for their own practice. But in general, you don't pick this up and be like, "Oh, I'm going to become a great soloist," like a pianist or a violinist or a singer-songwriter might do that. So that eventually you want to get together with other musicians, other drummers, and so on. So it really takes you into that place. And like you're saying, when you hold, you do. It's one of the few drums you actually do hold. It's like a guitar or a violin or a trumpet that way. Most drums you put on stands, So, and getting that swing, like I said, you move a lot of your fingers. Trying to get that, get the swing and get the flow from the back, and I'm trying to apply that even when I'm playing with a drumstick. You can get stuck in this thing or just a wrist. If you're doing a lot of drum corps and stuff, which I did, but then take that drum corps stuff and mix it in with this. I really feel like your flow is like cracking a whip. So this is the fulcrum. This is the first place that the stick touches your body, and then how does that? So what's holding that? And once you get that, okay, that's being held by the wrist. The wrist is being held by the elbow. What's the elbow doing? That's the shoulder, and the shoulder is connected to the back. So it always comes.
Yeah, very fluid.
It always comes from that. Yeah, and that's what keeps you playing for decades. If you stiffen up too much, eventually, you'll get tendonitis, carpal tunnel. Your joints won't work, and it won't happen. But if you pay attention to like really the great drummers of our time, they play till the end. It's drumming that keeps them healthy. I remember like Buddy Rich played till he was, till like the last couple months. Elvin Jones, Art Blakey, their last few gigs were like, 4 to 8 weeks before they passed on.
Yeah.
People say, oh, they had to play till the end because of this, or maybe they didn't have enough retirement money. It's like, no. The drums kept them alive. If it wasn't for that, they might have been dead when they were 50 or whatever, for whatever reason.
I think it works both sides of your brain, too, which is, because you think about it, you're using both arms, both legs to play, and there's not a lot of activities where you're doing that, but also where they're doing different things at different times.
Yes.
And that's challenging your brain, even if you don't know it.
Yeah.
If it just comes natural when you're playing,
yeah.
you're still firing synapses and all that stuff.
Totally.
To, keep your brain healthy.
Man, there's a lot of research done on that, and that's why even when I do like I'll teach some 5-year-olds sometimes in a group context, and I make them, first thing is get their feet going this way, and then I'll have their hands going this way. And then sometimes, depending on the age, and I'll try to have the hands going the other, whatever. And then they could say syllables. You'd be surprised at a 5-year-old getting their feet in their hands and sing like a rhythm, dun da 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 dun da 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 dun. And I know I'm not, and I tell them, I'm really developing your brains. I'm creating a superhuman here. They don't know.
Yeah.
But it's and there's a lot of research done on that these days. Like you said, there's like all the synapses going between the right and the left. And then so the corpus callosum gets really big because it's really things are really firing well. And also, what's interesting, because as you know, say the right side of this controls this, right? This controls this side of the body.
Yeah.
So when you have the feet, say going like this, okay, now this is firing. They're going to crossing. But then when you have the hands, not just imitating the feet, once they start doing other things, and then doing polyrhythms or whatever, then you can imagine your brain's going like, what's going on? I thought you want me to go right to left and left to right. Then the other part, so it's deep.
It is deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, drumming, like you said, it almost heals you sometimes. If you're, I think sometimes, like if I get depressed, I can sit behind the kit, a couple of minutes, and I feel better. It's just a release. Well,
man, we're in the same boat. I think partly it's a release, but I think it's more of a body centering. I know sometimes so I learned, especially when I was, was living off the grid. I was still playing a lot, but sometimes they say, I got involved with like, farming or growing food or something like that, and I wouldn't play for a couple of days, and I noticed I would get dark or depressed, and then I would just pick up a drum or or anything, and after about 15 or 20 minutes, all of a sudden, like the veil kind of was removed, and it wasn't necessarily just like a metaphysical thing or like a feeling thing. It was literally, I think, it does this biological repatterning. They say even listening to like a metronome over and over does like this biological repatterning, and I think that's really important. It's the right and left thing, like you're talking about. Yeah. It's that's I work with kids who have like special needs, or they have this or that, and drumming is the one place I could get them where they're like focused on something, and it forces them to get out of here and just like like in their body,
The center, yeah. So when it comes to the the other drums you play, so you have doumbeks, you've got
the doumbeks are about the same, similar technique to the frame drum, but very different. Like sometimes in the Middle East and stuff, they like a doumbek player might only play doumbek. Now it's changed, and this one also has. So you have the doom, the tek, and then the pa. So just like on this also, doom, tek, pa. So I think of it like 3 tonal colors, like. Like this is my canvas, right? This is the brush, and my tones are the color. So I think blue, or red, yellow, blue. So. And there's lots of special effects you could do. And that's like a goblet shaped drum, and actually as far as frame drums, you can see a kind of a cousin to this. You find this all over the world. They're actually one of the most famous, ubiquitous drums. Not famous. You don't see it in pop culture that much. Frame drums, but there are more varieties of frame drums than any other kind of drums in the world. Hoop with the skin. You have a South Indian kanjira, very similar. It's a cousin to it. And very loose head. It doesn't have that kind of edge sound, but I can squeeze on the head.
You can manipulate it really good.
Yeah, just like if you're playing a violin or something. And another frame drum that's kind of like that too, same kind of loose head, is a Pandeiro drum. We have Marcos Santos, who's a Brazilian percussionist, coming this year to the festival, and he's a master of the Brazilian drum. And the Pandeiro, like when you listen to samba, it's really one of the main instruments. That and the big bass drums.
Yeah.
And you use this kind of like a heel-toe approach. You know, you don't play like a traditional tambourine. And then you got the low head on the skin this way. And I manipulate the pitch with my thumb now. So the basic pattern is heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, thumb toe. It's usually played faster. And that's the groove when you go to Brazil. That's the groove. And that, I mean, just so people know, like, what is he singing? That's where you find the, you know, like the agoba.
Oh,
so
yes.
As you're playing, right? So as you're playing that noon, as you're playing that thing. You ever play one of these before?
Oh, I have a set at home. It's very fun.
So if you play that, I'll play, right? If you play that groove.
What was it again?
It goes high, high, low, high, 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 low, low. That's it. The big drum goes bum, ba boom, ba 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 boom, ba ba ba.
Yeah. This ends up being a Star Wars toy most of the time at my house, but
Star Wars toy?
Yeah. Kids.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, it's one of those things, and you know, it's very communal. You could try doing all this by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
At your home, but you know, when it comes to being around other people, and you can do this together in an ensemble or a drum circle, or whatever.
Oh yeah, and you know, and that's nice that you say that too, because drummers are not a competitive lot. Like if you see another, you know, drummer on the street, or you just meet them, you're like, hey, what's happening? Like, hey, what do you play? What's your style? What's this? What kind of drum set do you have? Or what's the color of it? Whatever. It's like, it's kind of that, like, kind of like, you know, together, it's like a family kind of thing. With other instruments, it's not like that. You know, there's like, you know, especially when I was living in New York and going to conservatory, like there's more of a cultural thing, say, between pianist and violinist or guitarist, and like, because it's more of a solo instrument, so there's only one space for maybe
getting first chair.
Yeah, it's different. So this almost looks identical to it, except this one's made in Egypt, and it's now it has that very tight sound, more like this one did, and then you could play it soft way like a. Or you can play on little cymbals. This is called the cabaret style. The other style is called soft position or classic position. And just like a drum set, I can get the kick and snare. And once we get the bang, and there's a lot of action in that. That's a very humbling. It's a tiny instrument, but it's a very very humbling instrument.
And you know, especially the tambourine part. I guess these are more like cymbals.
They're cymbals.
Yeah, so you know, it's got that.
They're hand hammered. Those are really nice.
Oh yeah, you can actually see the hand hammered.
That's that's like the Rolls Royce of Rick tambourine. You know, I mean, I think that person Kevork might have passed away.
Okay, because I know a lot of the best cymbals come from Turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then it's got this great inlay, and then what is it? This I'm assuming this is Arabic.
Yeah, it's Arabic. It says his name is Kevork. It's actually an Armenian fellow who was living in Lebanon.
Oh, okay.
And he makes like people around the world covet those ones. That might be $1,000 or something by now if you try to find one like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to make one.
Now, when you come and when you get something like this, how long does it take you to kind of get into learning how to play it?
Yeah, like the learning curve.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about all the different instruments. People think, oh, you just bang on. Hey, just get a bunch of stuff. Just bang on it. They don't realize the difference is like between a clarinet and a trumpet. You blow into both and you move your fingers, but that's about it. The embouchure or like the finger positioning. For certain drums, like a cajon, you could almost jump on it because it's so free, and you could do it like in a few weeks. You could figure it out. Things like that might take more like a year or two, to really feel like it, to get it under your belt. Like if I'm talking about somebody who's already been playing for a little while. How long does it? Especially if you've been playing drum set or djembe or something like that. It's going to take you a minute. I mean, just the act of holding it, it's a balancing act.
Finding the correct. Yeah.
Find the correct way, and that's because it's the fingers. That's a little bit harder. If you're going to jump on a djembe drum like I have there, that is just easy to get somebody to play. You don't have to hold the instruments. You put it between your legs, and you can get some tones. In about an hour, I could get somebody to do some a few basic things. Also with that too, but it's a little bit awkward holding it, And
then you probably have to immerse yourself in the musical style that would be played with that. You couldn't just go put on Katy Perry, or something like Taylor Swift, and play. You could play along to it, but it helped to listen to traditional Middle Eastern music, or even a certain region. It's Egyptian versus Afghani. Those are two different places.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And the style, and the style is particular to the country and the region sometimes, and also the instrument. Like this one, I modified it a little bit. Like this one has these kind of brass jingles, right, which has a little bit different sound. Almost, but then I have these more like very dry ones with this bend, and almost more like a Renaissance. And then I have wood ones. So like in a recording session, I bring this one a lot because of the different colors. This one sounds like castanets. It has wood cymbals. Yeah. So a lot of times in a recording, I might play, if I'm playing even for like a popular music track, I'll play there's a lot of sequence drum parts and stuff. If you listen even to hip hop music, there's like this hi-hat going.
Yeah.
Like I'll do it on one of these, like, and then I'll overdub. Like I'll put that on the left, and then I'll go on the right and go.
Oh, okay. Got it. A little different.
And it's subliminal stuff. Like I'll almost play identical parts. I'll track both on top of each other. Listen to it with overdubbing, and then we'll go in the studio and pan them out. And then you get this kind of wild, kind of like trancey, like almost electronic music sounding stuff, but using these kind of old instruments,
Well, and like that one, like you've got traditional Middle Eastern style with the cymbals. Then you could go to the wood for more of a Brazilian, Spanish.
Almost sounds like flamenco, right? Yeah.
And then you could use the the dry ones that could be European, but also Middle Eastern or
totally. Definitely
Mediterranean.
Yeah, exactly. It gives that flavor. And in the other one of the things besides there's a lot of different types of those frame drums. One thing I love to do is I have like tons and tons of different shakers. I have a bag of shakers I take to different like this is, even though this is a gourd, it sounds, I like it better than like an egg shaker, for example. Egg shakers get a little bit too much. And it's all in the back swing. If you want, if anybody out there wants to practice shakers, because a lot of times people just do. You got to get the back swing. So and you have to touch something. It's the back swing where you even it out. Because if not, it's front heavy. So one way to practice it, sometimes I touch, say, this hand and then the shoulder, so it could go.
Oh, okay.
And then you get it even, right? And then once you let that go, getting because this is downbeat, And then you add that like a triangle. So you go 1, 2, 3, and then especially if you go faster, I'm thinking
Or and then if you get 2 in a hand, that's fun.
Now these type of basket shakers, which has a gourd on the bottom and say wicker on the side and rocks or corn or something, for the backbeat you could spin it to get that 1E and the 2E and the 3E and the 4E and the 1. And then you could get different kinds, and sometimes I double it up. You get a nice thicker sound. Say I have a different one over here. One, and even playing with like a funky drum beat. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. A lot of times I get called into to do a recording session. It could be like a popular rock whatever thing, and it just has there's a straight drum part doing that, and they just have me come in just to give it a little lift. Add that little sparkle to it, because if not, it might just really be down to oriented.
Yeah.
And that kind of style comes from a Brazilian one. I have these are African ones.
Oh, okay.
These are probably broken. Somebody happened to step on one. These are little tiny gourds. So they're really nice, and you could play. I got these these little Indonesian ones.
Nice.
I think they're ping pong balls, but to replace these other ones I have, and you could play them. They're really soft, but you can play them really fast.
Yeah.
Or get like doubles, but they're addicting. I like them.
Yeah. You can get that swing, with the maraca.
Yes.
Kind of
exactly.
To it, yeah. But it's not overbearing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. These ones can get kind of crunchy in a track because they got. Some people don't want that, so that's why I have. Sometimes I'll just say, I want something smoother, so I'll just give them that. And then you can just add a backbeat. So you might just go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, almost like you're playing like the left hand on a snare drum or something like with a growth. Just like you're ghosting. Yeah, and it's I love, and then like shakers. Sometimes when you're creating a track too, you think of like, okay, you add like, you might do a track on a low drum or a cajon over there, then you add some other mid-sized drum, and then just like I was talking about colors, and I think of like the album as a canvas too. Then you add the high stuff on there to bring the ear and maybe match more of the guitar or something. So the drum set kind of does that naturally without it. But a lot of people these days, they want a drum set type of feel, but without actually the drum set sound in there. Specifically like songwriters and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So we'll come up with like a different type of groove, or even a similar groove, but with the different colors to make it sound more earthy and organic. It's interesting because when we were young, like the drum machine, and drum machines are still huge. But I remember in the '80s, when drum machines got really big, a lot of drummers didn't know what to do or this or that, and now. It's funny, people want to go to more rootsy things, I think,
Yeah, and I think right now, the younger drummers are, they're not stuck on brand and things like that. I remember when I was in high school, you couldn't mix-match stuff on your kit. You couldn't have a Sabian with a Zildjian. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
But now, people are finding what the sound they like, and they don't care what it, it says that, to hell with it. I don't care what it says,
They're creating their own, exactly. They're creating their own sound, for sure.
And so who are some of the teachers that are going to be at the Percussion Festival this year?
Yeah, so we have, so Marcus was one of the persons I was telling you about. We have Bolokada Konde. He's originally from Guinea, and he's a djembe master, and he's really great. He's coming in, and he's going to work with the musicians and teach them pieces too. And on that same front, we have Barakisa Koulibaly, who comes from Ivory Coast. And she, for the last couple of years, has been living in Asheville and teaches dance classes, but she's a powerhouse. She's really good. We have this really interesting person who plays Indian tabla and also Kathak dance, which is Indian dance. She's actually a Korean lady. Her name is Jinwon. But she studied that. I think she went over there for years and lived there, and she performs and is part of this thing called the Talim School up in the Northeast. And she's coming down to do both dancing and tabla playing. Yeah, and
nice.
she has a really interesting twist on it, and she has her own perspective on it too. We have Nagme Farahmand, who is Iranian, plays Persian music. She lives in Toronto these days, and she's great because she's just she's really great on the frame drums, on the duff, the one that has the rings and jingles over there. Let me see that one over there. I don't know if you want me to pull that one out at all, but it's got these crazy. I don't know if you can still hear my voice, but it's using in the Sufi music there and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But also using most Persian drumming. It's just got the rings. It's like and it's a 21 inch, and then you can shake. So. It's wild.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a crazy it's got a serious pop.
It does. Wow.
And she's really great. She was here like about 5 years ago. And what makes her special too, she comes originally from a country where, the women might not be known to be playing drums, and or culturally it's not necessarily part of the deal. But she's a powerhouse with it, and it really makes her great in that particular way. And also, part of the idea this year, because all this stuff in the last year, it seems like there's a lot of division in the world between people, not just in this country here, but all over the place. And people talking about these fanatics from this country or these fanatics from that. And really, when you see any kind of fanatic person, the funky thing about that, they attract way too much attention. So even if a fraction of a percent of one kind of religion comes out and does a crazy thing, then everybody thinks they're all messed up, or just like when you live in Europe. I remember when I lived in New York, people think, or say you're living wherever, you can live in India and you think, you live in America? This New York City? This place is crazy. What are you talking about? How did you, they see the media, and it's true. It's like, when I lived there, it was like, the homicide rate in New York City was 2,000 at the time. That's more than a lot of the whole homicide rate for a whole country. Even these countries that we think are crazy necessarily. So our subtitle this year was Mosaic of Rhythm, showing that we have people from these hotbed places. We have Omar Farouk Tekbalek, who's really one of the best known Middle Eastern musicians around. He goes around the world and he does things for peace and UNESCO and so on. So even though he might be Turkish, he has I'm Armenian. I play with him sometimes. I'm Armenian. We have a Greek person, so everything between Armenians and Greeks and Turks, that's considered oh my God, you hang out with that person, person. And then we have an Israeli, and then we have an American fellow, and we just really mix it up. So also for this thing, we also have a Lebanese American this year. We have Yusuf Sharanik and Adam Malouf, and Yusuf's a great percussionist, and he's going to be doing something with Duo Jalal. He has a wife who's a violinist, so it's kind of like world chamber music, their approach. Yusuf has studied with many years with Glenn Velez, a master frame drummer also, and he still plays with him. And so really showing the world whatever the media wants to pick up on this, really when you go on the streets, people just want to get together, and specifically musicians, they want to learn from each other. Yeah. So if you go, whether you go to, if you go to Israel or Lebanon and Turkey, for example, they're playing about the same grooves. They might have their little different dialect within the groove, or their little bit different swing, but really they're playing the similar stuff, and the musicians really want to learn from each other. Oh yeah. Musicians won't give a crap about that other stuff. Yeah. It's just and it shows that music can transcend this stuff, and I think this is what we need to show folks. Yeah. Well, and going last year, the concert, it was a great, eclectic mix of people. It wasn't just, males. There was a lot of female musicians. And there was a lot of representation across the board. It wasn't just one particular group, which is great. Drummers can be, predominantly white sometimes. Totally. This is showing it's everybody can do this, and it's what we welcome everybody, and it's a great thing. Yeah, and it's true what you say about females. It's When I was a kid, for example, there weren't that many female drummers. Even in the conservatory at that time, it was there out of 30 people from bachelors to bachelors to doctorates. There was maybe one or two. Now, if you go to like Eastman or something, it's like half and half, and that's great. And actually, for our workshop participants and even the intensive program that happens here for a week. I would say it's like 60 or 70% female. It's amazing, man. It's great. It's super awesome.
Yeah, and it's really, and I see it online. There's a lot of great young female drummers out there who are empowered. And they're, they want to just be drummers. They're not trying to be labeled, I'm just a female drummer, or I hate the word chick drummer, but they want to be just a drummer. And it's getting better on that front. So it's like when you see all the bad stuff going on in the world, you're like, oh, but then you see that, you're like, we have made some progress in some way. Yeah. And that's, it's great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We also have Kevin Spears coming out, and he lives regionally these days, and he plays kalimba, and he does electronics with looping. He's really a master at that. So it's like he takes this old world kalimba, which is like a thumb piano, right? It's a box with like metal tongues on it. And he processes it and he puts it through looping, and he's got a bunch of gear he goes through, and he sounds really, really good. He calls himself the Kalimba Man. And if you search him online, he's got some really great videos of him doing some cool stuff with it. Matthew Richmond will be here doing some. He'll be performing on a classical type piece, I think, on either vibraphone or multiple percussion setup. He teaches. Yeah. He's the professor at UNCA.
He's the he did
director
a wonderful
of percussion
piece last year.
Yeah, he did the marimba piece.
Yeah, that was great.
That was very cool. I'm going to be doing a piece that includes like gongs and singing bowls and bells, and we're going to try to put them around the audience, so we're not just on stage. Kind of like break that barrier between stage and audience and get around, so people could really hear the sounds going around them. So really looking forward to that. Chris Rosser and Elliot Wadopian will be with us from Free Planet Radio, because some of the the percussionists, they have these compositions, and they hear something else. It's not just like last year. It's not just going to be all on that. And all on drums. And Adam Malouf will be coming also from New York City. He's from Greenville originally, also another Lebanese-American fellow who just has a really great touch. He plays handpan, and he also plays cello and all kinds of...
He was great.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And I'm probably... I don't have my list in front of me. I probably... we have a Linda Block who'll be doing clogging. She's not going to... It's not going to be part of the performance so much, but she's going to be giving workshops during the week. And so we have that dance element involved in it also, and it's probably David Kuckerman actually coming from Germany. This is his third time here. People love him. He's a great teacher. As far as like online videos, David, this Kuckerman, by the way, it spells Kuck, and then Herman, and he started when he was playing drums. He's younger than I, so he was when I was a kid there was no internet or anything like that. Yeah. So, but he has great online tutorials. Like if you do handpan or cajon or frame drum, he's one of those cats that has like 100,000 views on like how to play like cajon or this, and he does really good produced videos to really explain the instruments. He's really great at it. Yeah, he's a great communicator.
Yeah. And it was just I'm really looking forward, and my son's looking forward to it, which is great.
Oh yeah.
It's just. And it to be here in my town, I grew up. It's a great thing. It's I don't have to fly anywhere.
Exactly.
I can get in my car and be here in 15 minutes.
Everything in Asheville is like 15 minutes away, right? I love that about it.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you wanting to be back on. And,
and it's a delight to be here.
Oh yeah, I was all day. I'm like. Yeah, get to go talk to River. Oh no.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Do you want to?
Well, when I came in, you were working on a book. So, is that public information or?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm trying to get the last little bits of it. That it'll be the book will be called Share the Drum, and it's kind of a methodology on approaching the drum. Specifically, you could use its fingerstyle technique on hand drum and doumbek, but it's transferable to djembe and ashiko and cajon and so on, and just as few concepts on playing, but really like understanding cell structure and how to create different So I try to teach drums from the inside out. Like here are the colors. here is the vocabulary. Here are the letters to make up a word, and then from the word, you create up a sentence and a paragraph, and then you make your own stories up, which turns up improvisation or composition. A lot of drumming kind of things these days, people just want to learn a beat, dun 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 dun, dun, and you just jump on, just like a monkey. We could all learn just a beat, but I think understanding body awareness and all this stuff is really is helpful to creating the good tones, because I'm really trying to help students become their own creators, and composers and so on. And then there's going to be all these audio files and audio samples that go along with it, because sometimes just a written page is only so much that transfers into the body, and then so a lot of it is based on audio sound, and then I'll be doing some videos in it and with it also. But I'm really excited about it. It's been spending a lot of time putting it together, the last little bits in these last few days to get it ready for that.
So when is that going to be released?
Well, I'll probably have it done hopefully by next weekend, by the festival. I'll have the first printing of it.
Oh, nice.
And then the audio examples, I'll send it to folks later, because that'll be all part of the book.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the other element too, which we didn't really get to show, but there are we have our sound meditation on Sunday. Is the whole other aspect, the kind of non-rhythmic side of percussion, which I love, with the more abstract, ethereal healing. I'm not sure, whatever you want to call it, but where you could go into a different place, are the singing bowls and gongs and things like that. And handpans kind of straddle both worlds. They're rhythmic, yet they're melodic and kind of spacey at the same time, and you just enjoy them for the tone.
I have fallen asleep several times on YouTube watching handpans, just but that's great. There's not a lot of instruments, especially a percussion instrument, that can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You could probably fall asleep to maybe like a doom bit beats real soft.
Yeah.
But, handpan, it's out of this world.
Yeah, and there's not that like harsh attack. There's not like that ictus, like when you hit a snare drum or crash cymbal. It's soft. The touch. It's like it does. Yeah. It just kind of sits there.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people love them. I did this whole conference last week. There was hundreds of people there, and I played all these instruments in between all these lectures and stuff, and helped people, get into things, and did some workshops. But out of all the instruments I brought, everybody was like, that big UFO looking thing. What was that? Where can I get one? People are fascinated by it.
Yeah. And it's great that there's something, there's always something new. And people learn. When I put up a video of someone playing one, I get a, what is that?
Yeah,
and I'm like, you've not heard of this? And but then you think about it, it's not been around that long.
Yeah. It's about 10 years only, which is very short in the historical development of instruments.
Yeah, I can't think of anything offhand that's 10 years. What was before that? A drum machine?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to, anything that fresh would have to be pretty much something electronic.
Yeah,
something really like handmade and hand built. It's pretty rare. There's not that many. Rare. People are coming up with different variations of guitars or something like that, which is cool. But this is pretty unique. I mean, the closest thing would be like a steel pan, with the mallets and stuff, and it has a similar sound. But this is still different enough.
Yeah,
because the whole playing style is different.
Well, you can't hit it with the sticks or anything like that. No, it's not courage, but
I mean, because they'll go out of tune pretty fast. Yeah. Those things are really precisely tuned. Mark was telling me that there are 250,000 hammerings in them. The last 5,000 are by hand, but there's a lot of hammering.
It's like a handmade cymbal. I mean, but it's like on steroids. It's just even worse. Yeah. And the links they go to make sure it's correct is just insane.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of research and development that goes into making one. That's why there's the waiting list is deep. It's like it's a couple of years. Some places it's like 10 years.
Yeah, I think Mark told me that it's a couple of years wait for them.
Yeah.
They're not accepting new orders.
They're not even accepting it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. That's like a business's dream to have like a 10-year waiting list. He goes, I could have a 10-year waiting list if I want, but he just didn't want to tie himself down to it. That people would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a great time to be a drummer, and and I think this percussion festival is just one part of that collective of learning different drumming styles and learning different instruments and all that. So
yeah, we're looking forward to it. I appreciate you having us on here and talking about it and showing some instruments. It's a lot of fun, always fun.
Well, I appreciate it. So again, so they could start. Let's see, the intensive long week, is that?
That starts on. No, there's a couple of spots left in the. We have 2 tracks. The advanced track, I believe, is sold out at this point, and then there's one for emerging drummers. So if you've been playing just a couple of years, or even if you're basically a beginner, And the idea is every day you have about 3 or 4 classes in different things. So you might have so even if you played drum set for 20 years, but you've always wanted to dabble into hand drums, you're going to have you'll have an hour and a half or 2 hour frame drum class. We'll have a doumbek class for an hour. Have a tabla class. We'll have a Kevin on marimba. They're going to have a djembe class, and so it's be like that all week long. So you're going to get like this percussion immersion. The idea is to give yourself, fuel for your engine for the next year, and then you can just take it home and just have a multitude of stuff to work on. And that includes for the artists, actually. Part of the reason they love coming here is we all learn from each other. It's not just like, I'm going to show you my stuff and that's it. Like, no, we all like, even what we consider like a master. It's like, if you've never seen somebody play Pandeiro, like, oh, I've heard that on records. I always thought you did it this way. You actually do it that way? That's a lot. That's a lot interesting. Maybe I could apply that to my instrument, And it's really cool. I love that.
Nice. So, and then is the concert sold out or anything, or is
the concert usually sells out in the last week or so. So there's tickets. There's tickets for that. And that's Saturday, July 1. And the workshops during the day this year, we had a little grant from the city. So the workshops at the Odyssey Community School all Saturday, and actually we have a cool event on Friday evening. We're having like a meet and greet the artists. The artists will some of them will do a little solo. Kevin Spears is going to do a set, and then we'll have a community drumming circle led by our own Larry McDowell, who helped start the Friday night circle downtown. And that's all free too. And then Saturday during the day, you could just go online and sign up for a free pass. It's from 10 till 5. We'll have about like 8 or 10, at least 10 different workshops happening. Nice. from like Brazilian to Middle Eastern, African, and Indian, so on and so on. So
wonderful.
That's all free. The only thing you really need a ticket is the advanced track and the concert on Saturday night, then the sound meditation. That's just about sold out too. People love that. That's at noon on Sunday.
Okay, yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a fun year. This is the 7th? 6th, okay.
Yeah. We're finally like in the place now where things are kind of taking care of themselves. You don't have to reinvent anything. It just, I knew if I could just stick past those first 5 years, get through all the kind of slumps it takes to keep something together. Because you could, if you have a week or 2 long festival, you could spend all year, organizing for that if you're
just
not
that
careful.
One. Yeah,
just so many things happening. So, the bigger organization Asheville Rhythm is the one hosting it, and there's about 5 of us that work for it, and we have about 20 or 25 volunteers, and most of them are like our drummers. They come to the drum classes and so on. So it's really a cool group. So there's things that happen throughout the year. We have drum classes, a recording studio, performances, and so on. And the Percussion Festival is the big kind of like huge thing. It's like the blitz that happens that gets everybody here. And like you said, why Asheville? I feel like rhythm is in the cultural DNA, the cultural fabric here in Asheville. Where, like even the Friday night drum circle, whether a person goes there or not, there's not that many places in the whole world
that does
a town that has like right in the center of town on a Friday night that allows 4 hours of drumming. They'll close off the park and they allow the permit to happen. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah. I remember doing that in high school, and that was a while back. Yeah. So it's part of the DNA of this city for sure.
Yeah, and the city support, and it's kind of a destination place. So like it's a good combination.
Yeah, it really works out. Well, again, thank you for being on.
Oh my goodness, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I am beyond excited for everything. So.
Oh, great, and I look forward to seeing you at the concert.
Oh yes, very much so. All right, well, thank you guys.
Bye bye. Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.